In this video, we're going to review the Standard Agreement for the Sale of Real Estate. This is a document published by the Pennsylvania Association of Realtors that is used for drafting offers on our client's behalf. It's a lengthy document, so we're just going to cover some of the key paragraphs and contingencies that buyers need to consider when making an offer on a home. If you'd like your own copy for review or a more detailed explanation of the agreement of sale, the Pennsylvania Association of Realtors publishes a consumer guide to the agreement. Please feel free to reach out to us and we'd be happy to email you a copy. Okay, so here we go. The first page of the agreement of sale identifies who the buyer and seller are. It identifies the address of the property that's being sold, and it also identifies the real estate agents involved in the transaction and who they represent. The next page of the agreement identifies the amount that's being offered on the home, how much the buyer is willing to put up as a deposit, when that deposit is due, and if there are one or multiple deposits involved. It notes whether the buyer is asking for the seller to contribute any money towards the buyer's closing costs, or what we call a seller's assist. And the rest of the page details the proposed settlement date and the time frame in which the seller has to respond to the offer. On the third page, we want to identify the zoning classification, the fixtures or personal property that may be included, excluded, or leased. For example, the washer, dryer, and refrigerator are considered personal property in our area and need to be specifically listed in the contract if the buyer wishes to have them included in the sale. As for leased items, they may be above or underground propane tanks, or even some security systems are leased and not owned by the seller. The next paragraph discusses buyer financing. It gives the buyer the option to make their purchase contingent upon their ability to get financing. There are a number of terms that need to be considered and properly addressed for this contingency to work in the best interest of the buyer. Terms like the loan amount, the type of loan, the length of loan, and the maximum interest rate should all be considered when drafting the financing contingency. Next, I want to discuss paragraph 12. This is where the buyer identifies what due diligence and inspections the buyer would like to conduct. Things like the home inspection, water testing, flood insurance, lead-based paint testing, and more. Your agent should be able to help you to identify what inspections and due diligence you may want to conduct in order to thoroughly evaluate the property. The next paragraph identifies the time frame allotted for the inspections and due diligence that was elected in the previous paragraph. Typically, buyers have 10 days to conduct their inspections and to respond to the seller with their intention to either accept the property in its present condition and move forward with the purchase, to terminate the contract and walk away from the deal, or to ask the seller to make repairs or give credit or a combination thereof. If the buyer elects to ask the seller to make repairs or to give them a credit, then there is some additional time allotted in this contingency for negotiations. It's important to keep in mind that the seller is not obligated to make any repairs or credit the buyer for repairs as a result of the inspections. It is the buyer's responsibility to get these issues satisfied in writing or terminate the contract within the time frame allotted. Your agent will help you keep track of the timeframes allotted and informed about your options. Paragraph 14 discusses title insurance and the buyer's ability to get free and clear title to the property. Paragraph 15 discusses municipal inspections. In Philadelphia and the suburbs, it's common for townships and boroughs to require use and occupancy permits or inspections when homes are being sold. Every township is a little different in what they require or don't require. It's important to understand whether or not an inspection will be conducted by the township and what repairs or improvements may be required when you're making an offer on a home. While it's common for the seller to make the necessary repairs to comply with the township requirements, however, they don't have to. If the seller decides that they don't want to make repairs, then the buyer would need to decide if they want to assume responsibility for those repairs or to terminate the contract. The township inspection should never be considered a substitute for the buyer's own home inspection. This is yet another area where working with a local, experienced agent can help you avoid unnecessary stress and uncertainty in the transaction. Paragraph 16 is applicable for homes that are part of a homeowners association or condominium. It states that the buyer is entitled to a copy of the homeowners association's rules, regulations, bylaws, financial information, and a resale disclosure. The buyer has the ability to terminate the contract at any point in time up until they receive these documents, and then within 5 days after their receipt. If you're considering purchasing a home that's part of an association or condominium and have specific questions about the rules or regulations, it may be a good idea to try and get them answered prior to making your offer. Some of the common deal breakers for buyers in communities are the ability to have pets, the number of pets that you could have, the ability to store recreational vehicles on the property, or even commercial vans, vehicles, trucks, etc. As I mentioned, the agreement of sale is a lengthy document and covers a lot of information that a buyer should consider when making an offer on a property. Whether you've done it once, a dozen times, or never before, a real estate transaction can be stressful. The agreement of sale is used by most realtors across the state and by many attorneys as well. Because it is the form that sets out all the terms agreed upon by the buyer and seller, it may be the single most important form in your transaction. It is very important to read and understand all the terms and conditions in the agreement. This video just scratches the surface of everything that is addressed in the agreement of sale. It's not a substitute for a professional help of a real estate agent or an attorney. We appreciate you taking the time to watch the video, and if you have any questions that we can help with, we'd love an opportunity to answer them. Please don't hesitate to reach out. Thanks.